Hi, I'm Strenk, and this is my model, JoAnna Ondash, and these are the motions to clap your hands. So if you start anatomical positioning, the first motion is to flex at the humeral ulnar joint, and then you will pronate at your humeral ulnar joint, and then you'll internally rotate at the glenohumeral joint, extend at the radiocarpal joint, flex at the radiocarpal joint, and then to go back into anatomical positioning, she'll extend the radiocarpal joint, externally rotate at the glenohumeral joint, supinate at the humeral ulnar joint, and then extend at the humeral ulnar joint. So for flexion at the humeral ulnar joint, you have the muscles you use are your biceps right here, your brachioradialis, and then your brachialis is just sitting like right there. And then for pronation at the humeral ulnar joint, we have her pronator teres right here and her pronator quadratus right here. So for internal rotation at the glenohumeral joint, we have your teres major, your subscapularis you can't really see because it's on the anterior side of the scap, not the posterior side. And you have your latissimus dorsi, which is like here, and then it all builds up to about here. And then you also have your anterior deltoid and your pec major. Okay, so for extension at the radiocarpal joint, we have your extensor carpi radialis longus, that inserts here, extensor carpi radialis brevis, and extensor carpi ulnaris, right there. And then you have your extensor digitorum, which originates up here and inserts on the second through fifth fingers. And then you have your extensor indicus, which originates here and inserts along your index finger. Okay, so for flexion at the radiocarpal joint, the muscles you use are your flexor carpi radialis, which is here, your flexi carpi ulnaris, which ends here, your palmaris longus, goes here into your flexor ranaculum, or your palmar aponeurosis. You have your flexor digitorum superficialis, and your flexor digitorum profundus is just underneath that. And then you have your flexor pollicis longus, which just flexes the thumb. Okay, so for external rotation at the glenohumeral joint, you'll use your posterior deltoid, your infraspinatus, and your teres minor. For supination at the humeral ulnar joint, you use again your biceps brachii, and you also use your supinator. Okay, for extension at the humeral ulnar joint, you will use your triceps brachii, and you have your long and your middle and your lateral head, and then you have your anconeus right here. So these are some muscles that help stabilize the spine, but they also have other motions of the spine as well. So for flexion and stabilization of the spine, you have your rectus abdominis, your external and internal obliques, and you have your psoas major and your iliacus down here in the hip flexor. Okay, so these are some muscles that cause back extension but also help stabilize the spine. So you have your longissimus, the iliocostalis, your multifidi, and your rotatoris, which these muscles are all along the vertebral column. And you have your semispinalis and your semispinalis capitis up here. Your spinalis is down here, your quadratus lumborum is right here, and your latissimus dorsi is like here to here. Okay, so for rotation and stabilization of the spine, you have your external and internal obliques again, and then back here you'll have your multifida and your rotatores. And for the muscles that cause lateral flexion of the spine and also help stabilize, you have your iliocostalis, you have your external and internal obliques again, your longissimus, your quadratus lumborum, your spinalis, your latissimus dorsi up here, and then you have your psoas major, which helps it assist. Obviously no one claps like that, so for continuous clapping you just flex and extend your radiocarpal joint.